Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about some gear changes I'm making for 2025 for backpacking and hiking and stuff like that. Of course, some of the things that drive our gear choices are the number one thing is budget. Budget's not really an issue for me, and I only say that because I've been doing this since the 70s and I've had plenty of time to upgrade and change and my gear. I'm not carrying a two-man canvas tent anymore. Another reason that affects our gear choices is the calendar. What I mean by that is I don't currently have everything I would need to do a whitewater kayaking trip down in New Zealand in January, but that's not on my calendar anywhere in the near future, so I don't really need my gear to be able to do that. And the other thing is desire. I don't have a desire at this point in my life to be out hiking or backpacking or camping when it's 17 degrees, there's 30-mile-an-hour winds, and it's sleeting real heavily all day. When I was in high school, I welcomed those challenges and a lot more because I was young and I was learning and testing myself, testing my gear, which was very limited because of a very small budget at the time. I pushed myself way beyond my gear and everything and learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes, but it was all good. Now, at this point in my life, I just don't want to do that. Um, so I've got my gear pretty dialed into anything I would want to do, and also anything that I could possibly do in the future. And with that is a consideration that if you're making if you have plans, you set a vacation all around this trip, you've been looking forward to it all year, and then it comes down to that date, and the weather is bad. You have two choices: you either got to cancel it, or you just got to go on and deal with it. I have the gear to be able to handle any of that stuff, but there's a few little tweaks I want to make for this year because I've got 30 hikes that I'm going to do this year, and there's only 52 weeks in a year, 30 hikes. That means I'm not going to have a lot of variances to say, well, doesn't look good this weekend. I'll just wait till next weekend. Plus, that's not counting any other backpacking trips, camping trips, kayak trips, or anything like that. So I'm going to be out in the weather, whether I want to or not. So I figure if if I'm going to force myself to be out in weather I would normally choose not to, I'm going to tweak my gear a little bit more to be more comfortable doing it. Um, One of the first things I looked at was rain gear. All the gear I'm posting, I'll have links down below the description. But rain gear, I've been watching a lot of rain gear every year. I pick a few people that are doing the AT, CDT, and PCT, and I kind of follow them through their journey. And one of the things I always watch is how their gear affects them. And then I watched all the gear videos and all that kind of stuff and reviews and everything. And one of the things I've seen is a lot of the rain gear wetting out. In this past month, I've made a conscious effort that I want to go to get something for different for rain gear. I had Frog Togs rain gear, it worked, um, but looking for something different. And when I started really diving into the rain gear, and it starts at $400, really. And I've seen rain gear up to $1,000. One thing they all have in common is it wets out. And even if you see a review on a piece of gear, for every review you see on a piece of rain gear that they say it didn't wet out, there's five other people that used it and said it did wet out. And I pay more attention to the people actually out there using it than the people just doing reviews. So the thought of paying $400 for a set of rain gear that's going to wet out, maybe instead of wetting out after an hour, it might last 3 hours before it wets out. But to pay $400 for that, I just can't see it. I did see one piece of rain gear, the Paramo Valles, and they have a couple other models of it, but it was a completely unique design. Uh, and even the way the water it it kept rain off of you. The zippers, the pit zips were different. And the most expensive rain jacket I've ever bought was back in 2010, and that was $80. And I thought that was just outrageous. But one of the things I don't like about that particular rain jacket is zips all the way up to your nose. But normally I don't have it like that. I have it zipped down, and when you zip it down, it opens up and it creates like a funnel to get all the rain right down inside on your chest and everything. So that Paramo jacket, it zips up where it can go all the way up and cover your face, or you can zip it down a little ways and then tuck it under, and it goes up underneath your chin to keep all that water out and everything. It's one of the things I liked about that. But still, very expensive piece of rain gear. So I went to Frog Tog's website. I've never been on their website. I've had several different Frog Tog rain suits for backpacking or for work when I was working outside all the time. But I'd never been on their website. Took a look around. I ended up going with Frog Tog's rain suits, the old Reliable. And one of the things I have done in the past, I normally backpack in shorts. So I had a pair of Frog Tog rain pants that I cut off to cover my shorts. So if I was out and it did get a little bit of rain, 30 minutes or an hour or whatever, I could slip them on over my shorts and just keep going and stay dry and everything. So when I was on Frog Tog's website, I ran across these shorts because now I'm going to be forcing myself to go out in the rain and everything. It might be raining all day. These actually have front pockets, back pockets, and the material is unlike what you expect from Frog Togs. It's really, really super durable material. I think it's going to hold up really good. So this is the FTX Elite. And I noticed they also have rain suits, the FTX rain suits and everything. So I'm going to take a look at those. Pretty sure I'm going to buy some and try them out. Because the biggest thing about Frog Tugs people don't like is they rip easily. I've got the one I wore at work had duct tape all over it from all the rips and everything, but I still kept using it. But this material that they use for the FTX is a whole lot different. So looking forward to that. My thing on rain gear, wetting out, back in the 70s and 80s, you had rain gear and it kept you dry, and that was it. There wasn't a problem with wetting out and all that kind of stuff. And I think the change was made. I think the problem has come because there's so much of a push for breathability. You want it to be waterproof, you want it to be breathable. And they haven't quite mastered the 100% of both or 99% of both. It seems like the gear takes away from the waterproofness to get the breathability, and they just can't get it right. And when I my first only Gore-Tex jacket I bought was back in the late 80s. Gore-Tex hadn't been around for a real long time, especially with the jackets and everything. And I got wet in that jacket so much that I've never bought another Gore-Tex jacket. I don't have any desire for the breathable jackets and all that kind of stuff. And the bad thing is that marketing push towards, if you're going to be outside, you need this. You got to have, it's breathable, it's this, it's that. And they've made it normal and acceptable that it wets out. Because you can watch all these videos of these people doing it, and they're like, yeah, I got wet, but it wets out. That's just the way jackets are. They weren't like that in the 70s and 80s. And as far as that, well, you got to have breathability, so you're not, because otherwise you'll sweat so much in there that you're going to get wet just from the sweat. It's not really the case because, like I said, back in the 70s and 80s, we had cotton clothes. Cotton kills. Cotton gets wet, you're going to die. That's all we had. There weren't the synthetics and everything. I managed to buy at an Army surplus an old wool Army shirt, heavy shirt, but the thing hung down at my knees. I was 5'3" when I was a sophomore, so that jacket just hung. But that was the only thing I had other than cotton. And the way we did is, if you were going to have a rain suit on, you took off some of your layers because that was going to keep you warm, especially if you were active. And what I see a lot of people mess up is not doing the be bold, start code thing. If you're sitting around camp, it's cold and raining, you got on your puffy and this and that, all these layers and rain suit on, and you're comfortable, but you're just moving around, getting your gear packed up, not very active, just cooking some breakfast or doing whatever. Well, that's good, but then you're still wearing all those clothes. You take off walking and or getting into any other physical activity, and now you're going to start sweating a lot. So just be bold, start cold. Take off some of them layers before you get going and everything, and then you're not going to be sweating as much, and that breathability is not going to be as important. And then you can get a rain jacket that actually keeps the rain off of you. Imagine that. Um, so, and one of the things I do, like I said, my shorts and stuff. Normally, I backpack and hike in shorts. So if it's 30 degrees and I'm out there in shorts walking, that really helps too. Helps to control my body temperature if I got a rain suit on or a rain jacket on. I mean, because I'm losing all that building up heat and everything. It's escaping through my legs and stuff, so I'm not, sweating as much underneath it, or very little, if any. So it's something to keep in mind. If you're looking for some rain gear, it's become acceptable that rain gear, yeah, you pay $400 for this rain gear and it's going to wet out, but that's just the way it is. It doesn't have to be that way. So that's why frog togs, they're not the typical frog tog is not breathable or anything like that. I don't want the breathability, not at the expense of keeping dry. So another piece of gear I got for wet weather gear is the Atlas Tempress. These are the 282s. I don't know if the camera's backwards or whatever. The links will be in the description, like I said. So what I normally have worn, these are ski gloves. You can buy them at Walmart for like $5. I started out as a kid wearing these gloves. I've gone on. I've had $60 pair of gloves, $100 pair of gloves. Seems like at the end, especially if it's raining and cold and all that kind of stuff, my fingers get cold. A lot of times I end up having them balled up and just the fingers are loose, just trying to stay warm. Spend many nights around a campfire, have my gloves kind of propped up, trying to dry them out. They're not the best in the world, but the more expensive gloves don't seem to work any better anyway. So why not just save some money and get these? If they do tear up or if I lose one or whatever, it's cheap to replace them. But what I've changed to is these Atlas gloves. These particular pair are insulated. I saw Dixie from Homemade Wanderlust. She was doing, I think it was towards the end of her CDT trip. The weather was turning really nasty, and she had heard somebody else talk about these gloves, so she tried them, and they seem to work very good for her. I got a budget version of these. I'll show you in a second. These are about $20-$30. I put them on when I first got them. I was walking from my back porch to our pole barn, which is less than 100 feet. It was about 15 degrees, and that walk over there, my fingers were already cold. So the insulation by itself is not that great. I have a solution for that. But as soon as I did start getting active, I was doing some stuff around the tractor and everything. As soon as I started doing that, my fingers warmed up pretty well. So I'll show you the liners I got for these in a second. But one of the things I was kind of concerned about, so if it's raining, I'm not going to wear the glove on the outside of my jacket. I'm going to have the glove tucked inside my jacket so the water will shed off. But one of the things I've done many times have been in some really nasty cold weather and trying to regulate that body temperature and everything to keep from sweating while I'm moving. If it's really nasty cold, a lot of times I can just I'll pull down my glove a little bit and expose my wrist, and it a lot of times within 30 seconds, maybe a minute top, my body temperature, my core is cooled down enough, and I can just pull it back up and keep walking. And maybe later on, start building up some heat, do the same thing, just pull my glove down, expose the wrist, and sometimes just one glove, sometimes two gloves. It all depends, but it's a constant. And going back from somebody that always wore cotton, it's a constant work to keep that body temperature regulated and cool. So sometimes one glove, sometimes two of them, sometimes take it off all the way, sometimes just raising up the sock hat a little bit, whatever. But with these gloves being so tall and tucked under my shirt or jacket, it'd be harder to do that. So I got for a liner Z-Packs possum down gloves. I won't have to worry about these getting wet because I'll have them inside the shells, and everything should be nice and warm and protected. Since I'm going to force myself to be out there, even if it's raining all day and cold, I want it to be a little bit more comfortable. The budget version, I bought these at Menards. You can buy them at any home improvement store. Truck stops have them a lot too. Because I used to use them all the time in the wintertime when I'm fueling my truck. I had some of these gloves to keep like the diesel fuel and all that kind of stuff from getting on my gloves and making my gloves wet and my hands cold. These are a little bit thicker, and the fingers, it's a little. You can tell they're a thicker gloves. The fingers don't move as easily and everything. But these were on sale for $4. Even when they're not on sale, you can usually buy them for less than 10. I got these. You can get them in black and orange and stuff. These blue ones were on sale. I bought them for this video, but also for when I'm working with my tractor in the wintertime, hooking up the hydraulic lines and all that kind of stuff. A lot of times you get some hydraulic fluid on your gloves. So I will just keep these with the tractor. But it's a budget version, $4, maybe $10 versus 20, 30 or more for the other ones. I was afraid that these were going to be stiffer like that because I've wore those type of gloves a lot. But I was really surprised. They really seem really durable, but they're really lightweight and the fingers move really easy. So far I've been impressed with these. All right, so that's all the wet weather gear. The changes I'm making. I bought a brand new set of regular frog togs, but I'm going to get the FTX jacket. Also, there's a couple pieces of gear I haven't got yet. One of them is the Durston Iceland or Icelandic trekking poles. This is somewhere where I hate replacing gear if I've already got something that's working. These are Ozark Trails. Bought them at Walmart, trekking poles, paid like $30 for them. Got over 200 miles on this particular set, no issues. And to turn around and spend, especially when a lot of trekking poles are $200 or so, if I got one that's 30 and it works, it's hard to justify that cost. But one of the things I like about the Iceland or Durston's trekking poles, it's kind of a different design. And one of the things is typical trekking pole is 3 sections. And each section has to be smaller than the section above it so it will slide into it. His trekking poles only have 2 sections, so that allows the bottom section to be thicker than the typical trekking pole. And one of the things I've noticed from trekking poles, I've seen $30 poles break really easy. I've seen $200 poles break really easy. But most of the breaks are down here in the lower part. It's 2 reasons. First of all, it's the thinnest diameter piece of metal or carbon fiber or whatever they're out of. And also that's where most of the stress, like if you get stuck between 2 rocks, it's going to put all the stress down here, not up top. But with Durston's being thicker, because he's only got 2 sections, that'll make them a little bit sturdier. A lot of the poles have 2 locks, whether it's a twist lock or a lock like this. They have 2 of them. With Durston poles, he's only got 1 on each one. So instead of having 4 potential fell points, those poles only have 2. Um, and I've only had 1 issues with this pole. If it's really dry and dusty, somehow this pole gets some dirt and stuff up underneath there, and then as you're walking, it wants to start sliding up, and you gotta, especially like 15-20 mile a day, you gotta adjust it a couple times during the day. It's only that one that does it, but with his poles that are less. I can't remember the weight. Like I said, I'll have the description in the video. These poles weigh a little over a pound with some Luco tape on them. So his poles are definitely lighter. Typically, I wouldn't spend a lot of money for something just because it saves a few ounces, but I kayak a lot. And this past summer, I switched from just a cheap, like aluminum and plastic kayak paddle to one that's all carbon fiber and all that stuff. It's quite, you could tell kind of a difference when you're just holding them, but it was like, it really is that worth the money. But after paddling the first day, I could really tell a difference in my body and everything in the way I felt from using that lighter lighter kayak paddle. So maybe switching to a lighter trekking pole, I would have that same benefit. I just would not buy some just because they're lighter. I like the design of his poles. It's a different animal than what the other trekking poles are. I've got a couple of his tints. I love everything I've got from him so far. So I think the trekking poles are going to be okay. Might have a problem. There's something new. Might need to make some adjustments. Might have some problems in the near future that'll get worked out. But I haven't got him yet because he made a second version to have straps. First version did not have straps on them, and I really like the straps. The ones with the straps are going to start shipping in February. 2 of the reasons I like straps on my trekking poles is if I'm going to stop, get something out of my hip pocket or something like that, instead of trying to find a tree to lean them against, seems like 9 times out of 10 they end up falling on the ground, and you got your pack on, got to lean over to the ground. With the straps, I could just drop them there, have the straps looped around my waist, get in my hip belt pocket, get whatever I need to do. I can eat, whatever. Or even if I have to stop and take a leak, I can do all that and not even set the trekking poles down. The second thing I like about him is if I'm walking a lot of miles, now that I'm not 20 anymore, sometimes my hands can kind of cramp up from gripping the pole the whole time. So I can just put the weight on the strap for a little while and let my hands relax a little bit instead of gripping out on there. So that's another reason why I like the straps. His poles fold down to 19 inches. These poles only fold down to 26. I don't care about that because I don't carry my trekking poles in my backpack. Maybe if I'm scrambling up a little rocky area or something, I need both hands free, but that's about it. Other than that, I fold them down, put them in the car, get to where I'm going, extend them out, and then that's it. So going from a 26-inch minimum to a 19-inch minimum, for me, it's not an issue at all. So that's a change I'm going to be making with the trekking poles. Those work great. I don't have any problems with them. The thought of spending the money, and I think with the straps are like $175-ish. I'll have a link you can see for yourself, but that's a lot of money when I already have something that works. And speaking of money, when I already have something that works, another piece of gear I got is a Gossamer Gear 420 pack. As you can see, it's brand new, still got the tags. I've always been curious about Gossamer Gear. I've heard a lot of good things about their packs. They seem like they would be a nice pack. I have a Superior Wilderness Designs backpack. This is in no way going to replace that one. But since I'm going out and forcing myself to go out and do all those hikes and everything, and I'm not 20 anymore, I might as well take full advantage of it and use it to get as much exercise as I can while I'm out there. When I was 20, I could eat whatever I wanted. I could abuse my body however I wanted, and it just kept on going. But now I have to make a conscious effort to do the right things. So I figured the main compartment is 30 liters. I could put I make it, 15, 20 pounds, and, just get a little bit more exercise out of the hike. It's got head belt pockets. One of the side pockets is longer than the other. You can, I'll have a link and you can see all the details of it. But the reason I decided to get this is back in December, they decided they were going to switch the material. This material has PFAs in it, and the new material does not. So this is normally a $200 backpack. In December, they had them on sale for $100, trying to get rid of the old stock to start out with a new one. So I wanted to test out some of their one of their backpacks. Buying a $100 pack a $200 pack for $100. It was the right time to do it. It's got a pad in the back to kind of make a frame, and then pull it out, and it's a seat pad, sits pad. I ordered an extra sit pad because I have another backpack similar to that doesn't have a pad in it, so I use it for that. And that's another reason, spending money on something I've already got. Not only do I have multiple backpacks, but I've already got a backpack that size. But I really wanted to check out Gossamer Gear packs, so I decided to make the plunge in that. And another thing, Gossamer Gear, I've had their umbrella. I still use their umbrella. A few other little pieces of gear. And as far as rain gear, the umbrella, I've got Gossamer Gear's hands-free clip and everything, so it holds the umbrella on my backpack strap. If you're using a smartphone, the touch screen, if it's pouring down rain, it's really hard to operate that touch screen. And if you have an umbrella, it keeps it out of the rain. So that's something else to consider if you're thinking about upgrading your rain gear. The next thing I haven't bought yet, still kind of skeptical, is the Enlightened Equipment Torrid Jacket. I've had that thing. I've gone online to their website and put that thing in my cart so many times over the last couple of years, and a few days later I take it back out. There's nothing negative about the jacket. Everything I've seen, everything I've read, everybody likes it. But I have so many jackets, and I know I have packs too, and I bought another one of them. I've got Truck and Pull that works good, and I bought another one of them. And I will probably end up buying that. This will probably be the year I buy that jacket, that Torrid Jacket. But to spend $200 when I've already have, I could clothe an army with the amount of jackets I have, and then to buy another one, I don't know. I think it's a really good jacket. I can't recommend it directly because I've not used it, but everything I've seen about it is positive. And speaking of wasting money on jackets, I want to Alpaca, and not only do I want to, I ordered it last night, an Alpaca hoodie. I tried a sun hoodie for the first time a year and a half ago. Actually, if you saw my last video talking about the Brynja mesh underwear, it was that sun hoodie I was wearing. I've been thinking about I had an Alpaca sock hat. Man, that thing, I loved it. It was a local company that made it. They made it by hand, and they used the particular colors for the yarn that I wanted, kind of custom hat, made it fit the way I wanted it. Love that hat. Be out there, it's soaking wet from being out in the rain and stuff, and the thing still keeps me warm. But I made a mistake, and it got put in with the regular laundry, went through a normal wash and dry cycle, and that dang thing came out. I could wear it as a mitt on one hand. It shrunk so much. I was devastated. I loved that hat. I'm going to get another one, but I found through the hat I really like the alpaca stuff. So I finally broke down and ordered the Alpaca Hoodie, which is stupid because man, I really don't want to spend $200 on the Torrid Jacket because I've already got a bunch of jackets, and then I spend $170 on an Alpaca Hoodie because it's cool. I don't always make the best decisions, but so yeah, that Alpaca Hoodie will be something I will be using this year, hopefully a lot. That is all the gear I have. One thing I have a question for, if you're still around on the video, I have a question for something I'm trying to figure out. This is my Superior Wilderness Designs backpack. I got this off my Dana Designs backpack. I got black over black, everything's blending in. But this pack, it kind of semi-permanently attaches to this strap. You have to undo the strap completely and feed it through if you want it to. It has a little clip here, so it clips to the other strap. And it sits right about here, and just a little bit above the waist strap. It's got a water bottle here, and then this pack holds all kinds of stuff, snacks, cell phone, any of that kind of stuff. It's a heavier material. I bought it from Dana Designs back in the 90s. It was built to last. It used to be kind of water resistant. It's not anymore. But what I am looking for is some type of just bag. I explain what I mean by a just bag is there's stories all over the country, but quite a few stories at the Appalachian Trail. Somebody stops at camp, or maybe they stop along the trail. They set their bag down with all their gear, and then because they're just going to go down the hill. There's supposed to be a water source down there. I'm just going to go down, filter some water, and come back up. So they leave all their gear there, and if they have a Garmin or some kind of satellite communication, that's sitting there with their pack. They're down there, and then they get lost. There's a lot of stories of that happening, or they get injured, and then they have no way to get any help or anything. At least not right away until somebody stumbles across them, because they were just going to go down there and do that. And if you look at anything, the stuff of people getting lost, and there's a couple things that a lot of them have in common. First of all, it's not just one mistake that got them lost in a situation where they have to spend the night unprepared. It's usually a series of mistakes that led to that. That's a pretty common theme. And the other kind of common thing is I'm just going to go do this. I'm just going to go out on a trail I've been out on before. And, we were backpacking hot. All the water sources were dry. We decided we'd made it as far as we were going to go that day. There was another water source, maybe a half a mile ahead. So I said, well, I'll go ahead and look at that, see if there's any water in that water source. Luckily, I had the clarity of mind to take my Garmin inReach off my pack and take it with me. Nothing happened. I went down there. I went up and downstream. Still no water. I came back. No issues. But a lot of people don't do that. So I'm trying to think of some kind of pack, something that would be easy to get off and on. And I'm going to have to look at something while I'm talking. Something that would be able to get off and on the pack. And hang on just a second. Okay, I had to look up the name of the company. So one thing I seen was Peak Designs. They have a 2-liter and a 7-liter sling pack. I know the 2-liter, it has some cord attachments you can put on your strap, and you could just clip it on there and wear it like a chest rig. The downside that I've seen that it seems like you got to take the actual strap off the pack when you do that. I'm not 100% sure on that. But if you, especially if you did, because then you gotta, if you're gonna set your pack down and just go do something, you'd have to take it off your pack, and then you'd have to hook up the strap to put it over your shoulder or around your waist, whatever. And one thing I know from my experience and watching others is if there's too many steps involved, you're not going to do it. You'll be right back in that just. I'm not going to mess with that because I'm just going to do this. So one thing I've done in the past is I've had a fanny pack, and it was pretty simple. I could put the fanny pack on first, put my pack on. I could just kind of lift up the fanny, grab the straps for my waist belt and kind of go under the fanny pack and clip it together, sternum strap, go on, take off on my trip. And then when I get to, if I'm going to stop or take a break, I undo the sternum strap and undo the waist belt, take my pack off, and that fanny pack is already there. There's no extra steps, So if I'm just going to do something, there's no more work than just taking my backpack off, which I'd have to do anyway. So I'm kind of leaning towards the fanny pack. I it I'd still like to have something different. One thing I have to keep in mind is that I have a Zoleo and stuff, but I normally carry my Garmin InReach, and I let it track me while I'm out. So that antenna needs to be pointing towards the sky. So I'd have to make sure that it would, however I clipped it on or whatever. I couldn't just lay it sideways in the bag because then it wouldn't work the way it's designed to work. So that's my gear changes for 2025. Just kind of tweaks, not so much changes, just tweaks. If you have any idea of something I can do for a just bag, all I want to carry in there have my satellite communications, cell phone, just basic stuff, just stuff. So if I just went out and then had some issue, I'd have the basic, at least, ability to navigate or communicate. At least that, maybe some fire starters, worst case scenario, stuff like that. But I don't want a big bag, just something to carry the very basics. And if you're still around, and I'm done with my gear choices, but if you're still around, I'll tell you my biggest just story. Maybe you can learn from my mistakes. So I was out. Let me get a drink first. I was in high school. Me and a couple of my brothers and some friends were going to go camping. And it was close to the house, but in an area that we hadn't really spent a lot of time at up to that point. We were in high school. I think my brother was in junior high, my youngest brother. So we got out and got to where we were going to camp at, and then we decided we were going to explore this one area of the woods that we hadn't really been to much. And it was getting dark. It was going to be real dark in like 5 minutes. So we decided we're just going to leave all our gear here. And we didn't set up our tents. We didn't cook any dinner. We didn't do anything. We just grabbed our flashlights. We're just going to go out to this area, check it out, and come back, and then we'll set up camp and eat dinner and hang out. So, of course, because we were just and we didn't have anything that we needed if something went wrong, we went out. It took us a little longer, but we found the place we were looking for. And on the way back, I don't remember why, we took a different route. There was no trails to either way, but we were bushwhacking the whole time, but we kind of circled around to come back for whatever reason. And then walking around, could not find a camp, and could not find it at all. Finally got to the point where it's like, we're just going to have to lay here on the ground and sleep until daylight, because if we keep going, we're going to get even more lost than what we are now. And so we spent the night. We after sitting there for a while with our flashlights out, because when you got your flashlight, you can't really see the big picture. You can just see what that light's shining on. When we sat there for a little bit with the flashlights out, we noticed in the pretty general direction of where our camp should have been, there was kind of an opening. It was summertime, but there was kind of an opening in the tree line and stuff. And we were thinking, that's probably it right there. We made the smart decision and said, no, let's not take a chance. We'll just stay here. Everything, we'll figure it out in the morning. And we did. So shortly after that, after we'd kind of settled in for the night, my youngest brother had problems with asthma, started having an asthma attack. His inhaler was back at the camp. We were over here. Luckily, he was able to kind of calmly work through the asthma attack, and everything ended up being okay. But so many mistakes made that night because we were just going to go do this. That asthma attack could have turned into a real medical emergency. Now we were lost out in the woods at night, having a medical emergency with no way to deal with it. That could have been very bad. Weather could have turned bad. Hypothermia, potential hypothermia could have been an issue. A lot of other things could have went really, really wrong. And it made it even kind of worse because where the area where we were at, we were boxed in by roads and train tracks. What I mean, to the north of us, there was a train track that went east and west. To the south of us, there was a highway that went east and west. On either side of us was gravel roads that went north and south. So there was a hard border in any direction. It was a big area, but still, if we would have had a compass, our compasses were back in our camping gear. If we would have had a compass and picked any direction at all and just went in a straight line, we would have hit one of those hard structures. And if we would have done that, well, first of all, we knew everybody. We grew up in that area. We knew everybody that lived around there. We could have just knocked on somebody's door and said, hey, could you give us a ride? But at the very least, we knew the roads and the train tracks and all that kind of stuff. So if we would have came out at any point on any four of those, we could have just walked back our way to the camp and been okay. But it was a bad choice, because we were just going to go take a little walk over to this area before we set up camp, and decided to leave all of our stuff there. Made it all right. Everything worked out. A lot of lessons learned. I've never made that mistake again. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So this video has gone too long, so I'm going to shut it off now. Hope some of the gear stuff helps somebody out. If you have any suggestions for me, let me know.